So some of you might have been interested in joining D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, or some other tabletop role-playing game, but you're not really sure how to play. Or you might already be a player, but you're like, well, I could be better at this. And it's not about like the rules or the mechanics, because you can look those up and a lot of those are automated, but there's like an artistry to being a player in these games. And it's like, well, how do you actually be like good at this? How do you make sure that you're showing up in the right way, and that you're making the game more fun for everyone, and you're not being a burden to everyone? And like, it's an important part. It's probably the most important part about being a player at a tabletop role playing table. And it's not really something that, like, there's some advice out there, but I just thought I'd give my thoughts on it, because I've been thinking about this a little bit recently. And I mean, the first thing I'll say is that if you're thinking about this, then you're probably okay. Because if you're the sort of person who does think about this sort of thing, if you do have an intention to be good at this, then you're probably the sort of person who's good at being a player. But that's reassuring, but that's not advice. That's like, just be yourself. It's like, cool, but like, what do I actually do? And so here are my thoughts. There are many different ways to think about this, but here's what works for me. As a player, I invite you to think of like a tabletop role-playing game table as having three separate groups in it. One group is the other players at the table. One of the groups is the dungeon master, and one of the groups is you. And I invite you to consider that perhaps it's your role to help each of those groups have as much fun as possible. Now, you can't make someone have fun, that's not what I'm saying, but there are things that you can do to help someone else have more fun. And so what does this look like? Well, fun is wildly subjective. So what's fun for one group, what's fun for one person is not going to be fun for another. But there are still some things that we can do to like think about this. And the easiest way to make this really clear is to talk about what happens when this goes wrong. So there are players out there who are bad at making the game fun for the other players. And what that looks like is that they're hogging the spotlight, that they're making every moment about them. Someone else is having a character moment and they're just like jumping in with like a joke, or they're trying to make it about themselves somehow. They're just not able to just like let the other players have their fun. Or they're the sort of players who play, it's like they start fights with NPCs because they're bored, and then they like leave the fight because they think everyone's going to die. Like, it's real bad when you see this. There are players out there who don't know how to make the game fun for the dungeon master. And what this looks like is going to vary a lot, because, like, again, what one DM finds fun, another finds horrifying. Like, a lot of players have like apologized to me because they're like, oh, like, we went really off scripts, like we went off the rails with that. You were leading us down one path, we went down another. I love that. That's my favorite thing. But there are DMs out there who would hate that. And it's like, okay, fair enough. So in terms of what like your dungeon master likes, it's probably going to be pretty obvious by like what they pay attention to, what they emphasize. Like, there are some dungeon masters out there who just like running like brutal dungeon crawls, combat, combat, combat. And if you like that as a player, great fit. Love that. But if your DM is like spending a lot of time like with like creating like the lore and the world building, then find a way for it to be fun for you to engage with that lore, to engage with that role, with that world building. Now, and again, this doesn't mean that you just ignore what you want and just do whatever the DM wants, because you are one of the groups. You're supposed to make this fun for yourself as well. And that's a really interesting thing. It's like, how can someone play in a way that makes the game not fun for them? And there's a couple of ways that this can play out. One is that they just go along with the group, even though they want to speak up. Now, some players, they find it fun to just like, hey, I'm just here to to heal and smash things. If you guys want to like go in a particular direction, I'm more than happy to like sit in the back and support that. If that's fun for you, great, do that. But if it's not fun, if you do want those character moments, if you do want the spotlight on you occasionally, and you're constantly like, well, I don't want to speak up, I don't want to impose on the group, then that's not so good. But another way is if something is bothering you, like something is getting in the way of you having fun, and you don't act on that. Like for example, maybe the group is like trying to push the adventure into like more and more combat. And you're like, yeah, the combat's great, but I also like really like the role playing stuff. Could we at least try talking with these people first? And if you don't express that in some way, uh, or if you don't just like accept that, then that's means that you're not playing for fun for yourself. And so yeah, let's say something like the group is making a decision, like yeah, let's punch these orcs in the face, and you're like, well, I want to actually like try to talk to them first. Then your options are to like speak up in that moment and be like, actually, can I just try something before we start swinging? Or you go like, you know what, I would prefer to talk to them, but I can live with this. The worst thing you can do is just like bottle it up and just like get resentful. Like you are allowed to have fun at these tables. That is sort of the point. Now, another way that you can think about this is to flip this around and be like, okay, but what is the dungeon master tracking for? Because if you should be tracking for fun for the dungeon master, fun for the group, and fun for yourself, is the dungeon master doing the same thing? And in my experience, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, but my experience is like not necessarily. Because me as a dungeon master, I'm tracking the group as a whole and every individual player. So if someone is being unusually quiet, I'm like flagging that. It's not my job to make them have fun, but it is my job to make sure that I'm aware of like anything like that, anything that's a bit sort of out of character for them. And so you can make that easier on your DM, really simple way, by just letting them know what you like about what they've done. Now, you don't even have to say what you don't like, because that could be a bit awkward for someone. It's like, oh, I didn't like the way that you handled that combat. You can just stick to the positives. Like at the end of a session, you can say, like, thanks, DM. Like, I really like the way that you let me be flexible in that combat. Like, you let me try something crazy. And if there's like nothing that you particularly enjoyed, if it was a bit of a schmozzle of a session, you can just say like, thank you for the time, like thank you for running the session. That's still pretty good. But yeah, so if you're the sort of person who like every single session at the end, you're like, thanks for running the sessions, like blah blah blah, and then like after doing that a few times, you then add, and I really liked like that role playing part. Any DM who's like worth their badge is going to make note of that and is going to try to do more of that sort of stuff in the future. So like if any of this has been like confusing or overwhelming, again, like if you're even thinking about this, you're probably doing great. But just keep this in the back of your mind. It's like, what can I do in this moment to make this game more fun for the DM, for the group, and for me? You keep that in mind and you'll be great.